Who's your favourite character from Harry Potter? Is it Ron? Hermione? Maybe one of these people? Whoever you picked, I bet it wasn't this guy. There are many wonderful characters in J.K. Rowling's wizarding world, but The Boy Who Lived is about as interesting as a bowl of plain yoghurt.
What?
But what if I told you this was actually a good thing, and that Harry's vanilla vibes are a large reason why these stories are so successful? Let's dig into it. Sorry, Harry, but...
You're basic.
Now, I'm going to explain why Harry's blandness is actually a genius move later in the video, so stick around for that.
Spectacular.
But first, we have a character to assassinate.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Just for fun, trying to describe Harry without making reference to his physical appearance. No green eyes, glasses, or lightning scar. You'd probably say something like brave, loyal, orphan, lives in a cupboard under the stairs. Now, those last two are kinda iffy, because they're more about what Harry is rather than who he is. And while bravery and loyalty are admirable qualities, they're kind of like the bare minimum for a typical hero.
Well, you know, I just thought I'd...
And even more to the point, they don't even stand out. If I asked you to name a character in Harry Potter who's brave and loyal, you could easily list half a dozen people, not just one. Now you might say, hang on Sam, that's unfair.
Yeah.
You'd struggle to boil down any of the other characters into something recognizable like this. But actually, I don't think that's true.
Brilliant.
JK employs this technique on many of her characters. She uses epithets, which can be titles like you know who, or repetition of the same key phrases and adjectives. So check this out. If I say thin, greasy, cold, who do you think that is? Now how about quiet, wise, calm? Or prim, sharp-tongued? And finally, sleek, arrogant. Now what epithet does Harry usually get? Well, he's most often called the boy who lived. It's a reference to how he survived Voldemort's attack when he was a baby. And that was even something he did deliberately. It happened because of his mother. He may as well have been born with it. So whenever you hear the boy who lived, translate that to the chosen one, because this title of his doesn't signify anything other than Harry's importance to the plot.
But I am the chosen one.
Which brings me to my next point. Let me ask you another question. What does Harry Potter want?
I mean, I'm just Harry.
Not much, right? And that's a problem, because what a protagonist wants is usually the foundation for the plot.
No offense, but I really don't care.
Characters have two key dimensions as far as the plot is concerned: what they want and what they need. This basically means what is their goal in the story and why. The plot is then what happens when the protagonist's wants and needs conflicts with the wants and needs of other characters, or with the environment, or even with each other. Take Castaway as an example.
Look what I have created!
In that film, Tom Hanks wants to get off this goddamn island so that he can get back to his fiancée. But what he needs is to put his relationships first, instead of prioritizing his job.
87 hours is a shameful outrage.
Or taking people for granted.
What about our Christmas? I got a gift for you.
We have to do it in the car.
The environment throws obstacles at him to prevent him from succeeding, and this forms the plot, with him building a fire, finding food, constructing a friend out of a volleyball, and performing ad hoc dental surgery. The tragic twist is that when he does finally escape from the island years later, it turns out his fiancée thought he was dead and got married to someone else.
I'm Kelly's husband.
This is the plot's lowest point, because our protagonist has struggled through so much to get to what he wants, only to find out all hope of him getting it is lost.
You have to go home.
But then you get the final scene where he drops off the FedEx package and meets that new woman.
You look lost.
Although the protagonist didn't get what he wants, it looks like he'll get what he needs instead. Hence the plot is complete, and the story ends. Harry, on the other hand, has no such relationship to the plot.
I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending that I don't exist.
He is what's commonly known as a reactive protagonist.
I didn't mean to offend you or anything.
This means the events of the plot happen to Harry, whereas proactive protagonists like Tom Hanks in Castaway make the plot happen through their own actions.
Hey! Hey!
Let's look at the Goblet of Fire. Now, if Harry was a proactive protagonist, he might have chosen to put his name in the goblet for some reason. What actually happened?
Harry, you put your name in the goblet of fire.
Someone else put Harry's name in. Harry is then assigned the task of competing in the Triwizard Tournament whilst trying to solve the mystery of who put his name in and why.
Do you think one of them put my name in the goblet?
And this structure is repeated time and time again throughout the series. Harry is always given a task, whether it's by Dumbledore, Ron, Hermione, Hagrid, or someone else. And that's what moves the story forward, rather than Harry himself. And then most of the time, Harry doesn't even solve these problems himself. I mean, sure, he's the one doing the thing, but the solutions to these tasks are often spoon-fed to him, or completed for him by someone else.
Finite incantato!
So yes, Harry is brave in the face of danger, and his loyalty is rewarded when his friends come to his aid. But really, he doesn't have an interesting personality,
You're a right foul git, you know that.
and he's rarely the one driving the plot forward. And yet, these are fucking good stories, man. They're just... So does this mean we can have protagonists bounce from plot point to plot point like Harry and all will be well?
Yeah.
No, definitely don't do that. You see, there are 3 clever things happening outside of Harry that turn this apparent shortfall of his into a strength. There's a reason why they built a life-size replica of Hogwarts for people to visit. JK's Wizarding World is so vivid and well imagined that people wish they could go there. And it's not just the world building that makes these stories captivating, it's the rich cast of characters too. There are so many characters with unique quirks, passions and backstories. They all feel individual, like real people.
I'm a real boy!
In fact, they're so unique that you simply couldn't tell the same story from their perspective. Imagine how different these books would be if the main character was Professor McGonagall or Luna Lovegood or Fred and George Weasley.
Wicked.
Those characters have vastly different goals and personalities that would take over the story. But Harry isn't meant to be distinctive like these characters. He's the plain, basic flavour
Yeah, basic.
that allows the spicier ingredients to shine. That might sound like a criticism, but it's actually a clever move. And it's true for protagonists in other fantasy-adjacent stories too. Luke Skywalker, Frodo Baggins, and Neo, for example, all share many similarities with Harry. The simplicity of these protagonists makes it easier for the audience to focus on the fantastical worlds and cast of characters around them. And if that doesn't Draco your Malfoy, how about the next thing that Harry's blandness works for? Now, you might have thought earlier when I trashed Harry for being too passive that I was implying the plot in JK's novels is
Weak.
but that couldn't be further from the truth. So how do you end up with a tight plot, or you have a reactive protagonist that isn't in control of the story?
What's that supposed to mean?
The answer lies in what genre these stories operate in. And what genre is that? If you said fantasy, you would be wrong. Harry Potter borrows heavily from the mystery genre. These novels have more in common with Scooby-Doo and the gang than they do with The Lord of the Rings. I mean, sure, the overarching plot of the series is a battle between good and evil, but the individual books are whodunits wrapped in colourful fantasy world building.
I am, in fact, a hobbit.
Each book has a central mystery that needs to be solved, with Harry and his friends playing the role of detectives. Now, they might have small arcs or side stories along the way, like freeing the house elves or getting involved in love triangles or being good at Quidditch, but that's never the point of the story. The point is to solve the mystery.
You framed him, didn't you?
And this is, and I can't stress this enough, fucking brilliant.
Thanks.
Humans are inquisitive creatures, and the stories we like best are often the ones that leave us asking, what happens next?
It's a what? What is it?
So the Harry Potter novels achieve this by asking a central compelling question and then having the magical world and colourful cast of characters all related to that question, like a gallery of suspects or murder weapons in your typical mystery novel.
And I would have made millions if it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
Take the Goblet of Fire. The central mystery is who put Harry's name in the goblet and why. We get a ton of new characters and fantastical elements introduced along the way, like Portkeys, the Pensieve, rival wizarding schools, the return of the Death Eaters, and Barty Crouch Jr. The audience hangs on all this information because it's all related to solving that central mystery.
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
So as Harry explores more of this world and braves each trial in the tournament, it feels like our detective is getting closer to solving his case. And you know who else wants to solve that mystery?
Not you.
That's right, you. When you were reading Harry Potter, did you imagine what it would be like to fight the basilisk in the Chamber of Secrets? Or take a potions class with Professor Snape? Or have friends like Ron and Hermione?
I have friends. All 10 seasons.
People wish they could experience the wizarding world for real, and Harry helps us view it up close with minimal resistance. How? Because he's a surrogate for the audience. While many good protagonists have flaws and interesting personalities that make you like and sympathise with them, Harry goes one step further. He makes you empathise with him instead.
You are brilliant.
If we go back to that description of him, these are universal characteristics. Most people would like to think they'd be brave and loyal in the right circumstances.
Dragon Balls.
And the fact that Harry has very little impact on the plot means that he experiences the world as we do. This means we don't get pulled out of the story by Harry feeling something we don't, or doing something that we wouldn't do in that situation. Imagine Fred Weasley being the protagonist in a fight against Voldemort. He'd probably crack a joke, do some magical prank that backfires, and would somehow accidentally save the day.
Brutal, but no one's died in years.
It would be entertaining, and you'd root for him, but you wouldn't feel as close to the events because Fred's personality would get in the way. And that rarely ever happens when the boy who lived is in the driving seat.
Hold the fort, Neville.
And that's the genius of Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling combined that page-turning pull of a mystery novel with a fantasy world full of charming characters that you just wished you could step into. And then she gave us a protagonist that made it easy to do exactly that. So Harry may not be the most interesting or unique character in these novels, but he is the perfect, boring protagonist to lead the series.
Come on, have you? Took you long enough.
So with that said, who's your favourite character from Harry Potter? If you're the one person who actually said Harry, let me know in the comments. It's a safe space, I won't judge you. And while you're down there, there's a like and a dislike button. My fate is in your hands. Keep writing.